In this video, I'm going to review the Wuben headlamp. This little inexpensive headlamp is pretty simple to operate. It has a couple of nice features, but it has a couple of downsides that I'll talk about near the end of the video, so I can give you an all-around view of what this headlamp is like. When you first receive the headlamp, you think, what the heck did I buy? Did I just buy a cartoon headlamp? Surprisingly, no, because this has an IP67, I believe IP67 rating for waterproofing, which is actually really good. So that means you could put this thing in the sink, get it in rain, and get it in the drink, and it'll perform just fine. Now, you might notice that this thing is actually quite small, but one thing I really enjoy is the headband. The headband is actually quite light, and the fabric feels super, super good. So it has two basic buttons. The first, in the top right here, because I'm right-handed, is they label it R3. Why they label it R3, I don't know. And then the other one is W for maybe the white beam versus the red beam. So you can see I can turn the red beam on, and then I can turn the white beam on. Woohoo! Now, unlike some other headlamps that literally require you to know Morse code to work, this one is pretty simple to select all the modes. If you turn the white on and you press and hold, it will simply step through all of the different brightness levels. And then you shut it off and turn it back on, and it will remember what brightness level you're at. I will shut it off, I will turn it back on, and amazingly it works quite well. The same thing with the red light here. If I press and hold, it'll go to the blue, the flashy, the red, and the blue, and it will cycle back and forth. And that is simply it. So one nice thing about this Wuben headlamp, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, it's a W-U-B-E-N, is that it's actually pretty simple for what it gives you. I have a lot of other headlamps, and sometimes click and hold for 2 seconds, release, double click 3. I was like, my gosh, I don't want a whole like crazy document. Even though this comes with a couple of instructions, and it does claim that the high level is about 120 lumens, and it lasts about 2 hours, and that, which it turns out is pretty accurate. I mean, I'm never going to run a headlamp to totally dead in the dark. I mean, that's just silly to do. But this one, for what it does and the price, is actually really nice. Now, a couple of the features of this headlamp is that you can actually, and that's one of the downsides too, is it is a little bit hard to remove from the head strap. In theory, you're supposed to be able to remove this head strap, put the clip on your, say, your baseball cap, rotate it forward and go. This is too heavy to hang way out. I tried it, so even though on the website it shows, oh yeah, you can clip it on your headlamp, if you're jogging along and that weight's there, that would drive me nuts. But if I just have this on my forehead, it actually works pretty well. Now, you'll notice I've flipped this headlamp around. One of the things about this headlamp, it has multiple rotation directions. So not only can you tilt it down or tilt it up, you can actually rotate it 360 degrees. Now, that seems like a silly feature until, let's say you want to rotate this thing up and rotate it to the side and turn it on. I don't know why you would want a light to the side, but you can. None of my other headlamps had this. At first, I was real tepid about it, like, oh, you know, what's the big deal? But it actually is kind of handy. You can also put this in a vertical mode if you've got some awkward location usage and such. Let me rotate it around here. And you can see, I mean, the graphics, oops, that's upside down. They're real clean and all that. Let's see, was it Light Up Your Life? Yeah. So Wuben registered trademark and all that. You know. One of the things about this guy is that it uses AAA batteries. So you can use rechargeable batteries, nickel metal hydride. You can also use lithium AAAs. Now, the one thing about this, the first real detractor, is it's very difficult to get this clip off to open it up. So you can see here that this clip, let me step out of the way, it's just plain tough to get out. So what I'm going to do is take a key, when I'm sure you could come up with a key, is I will just simply snap it open there, and then it's real easy to pop open. You can see the rubber gasket around here does the sealing for the batteries, and that just simply holds 2 AA batteries, or double AAA batteries, and that's, if I can get it out there, and that's literally it. So there's really not a lot to this, which is nice because a lot of other headlamps are actually substantially heavier. They have a lot of weight on your forehead. I mean, just by itself, this thing is super, super light. It's only whatever, 30 grams or whatever the spec says, and then plus the strap. So it's amazingly light for what you get. Now, of course, it just comes with some great cell alkaline batteries or whatever, but these are eventually meant to die. But if you really need performance, you want to get the AAA batteries. Those are the ones that get the job done. Now I will simply place the batteries back in. Hopefully I put it in the right direction. Yep. Just simply drop it down, lower it, and it clicks. And hopefully I put them in the right direction. Sure enough, good to go. Now, one of the biggest downside I would say is getting this little latch open to get to the battery case. It kind of shows me like, it's a little tepid, but I don't really change batteries in my headlamps that much. I'll go on a 4-day backpack, and I never run at full power. I only run at the mid power, which is 50 lumens, and that's 7 hours. And I guess if I was backpacking crazy at night, I would be able to do that. It does have this SOS mode. I don't even know how to get into it, but oh yeah, there you go. It's a blinking double click. Yeah, so I mean, it has a couple of other modes. The red light is very nice at night, so you don't lose your night vision. So if you do night photography or you like to travel around at night because, well, you've got a headlamp, that's really good. Another downside of this headlamp is even though this plastic is really flat, I would prefer plastic where the strap goes in, follows back out, and then drops back in. So more of the strap is against your forehead instead of the plastic. And initially, I was like, I don't really like it. But surprisingly, whatever the texture is on the back of this plastic is actually pretty good. So initially I was like, I don't really like that. But the headlamp is so light. Here, in fact, let me turn on the light. Let's see, there we go. Let's turn it up. And let me jump up and down. And you'll see that the headlamp isn't doing much of this at all. My other heavier headlamps, when I'm bouncing, they do this flashy. But when I jump up and down, you'll actually see the headlamp stares straight up or straight out the whole time. So that's actually a huge advantage of this little Wuben job, is that it's so light, it actually doesn't bother me. Unlike I've got some really, really headlamps that are super intense, they last forever, 4 AAA batteries. They're really incredible, but man, those suckers are heavy. So this guy really gets the job done. Now, it's got some other instructions, and I'm not even going to go over them because if I can't figure out a headlamp without instructions, I don't use the headlamp, because what happens when I'm 5 days in and I'm on a mountain and, oh wait, do I hold it down 2 or 3 and then double click and then get into a different mode? No. If a headlamp isn't easy to use straight away and I have to have an entire manual in the field, I don't use it. So really, this little Wuben headlamp has grown on me quite a bit. It's been quite a surprising find, and just that little red LED works really well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the lights off, and I'm going to turn the headlamp on the wall. I might have to adjust the exposure a bit, and we'll see how this guy really performs. So one moment while I shut the lights off here. We'll shut the main room lights off. And there we go. Now, you should be able to see there. Now we're going to make this totally dark in here, darn close to totally dark. There we go. Now if I turn on the main beam, wherever it is, there we go. And you can see that the headlamp, here's my body. Oof, man, okay. So in the dark, that thing is actually incredibly bright, and the white setting is a bit too much. So if I turn it down, my camera's actually still focusing on my head, and I could actually use this successfully for lighting myself and doing videos in pretty much pitch black conditions. Because if I shut the light off, you can see there's not a lot to see. And this little red guy does pretty well. And if I hold it and I go to blue, whew, boy, I'm not sure why I would use the blue mode. It actually, you can see a little bit better. And then I don't really need the strobe mode. But if I put it back to the red, it works quite well. So if I use the white in the dark here, you can see, oh boy, I mean, now that my eyes are adjusting kind of to the dark, the lowest setting is more than enough and intense. And when I put it to blaster mode, it's way too bright for me. So if you see the beam pattern here, it's a little bit tight. I would prefer a little bit wider flood. But the nice thing about the beam pattern is that it starts here and then it just slowly drops off rather than having an extreme hot spot and then nothing. There's a nice bright spot and then the gradient slowly spreads out. So this little headlamp, the optics are actually designed quite well. We have a good bright spot. You can see things like, well, you know, bears or moose or whatever you might be walking into. And the flood area actually works quite well. So that is one nice thing about the headlamp. I'll drop the exposure down here. Is the camera can't really show you this, but when I brighten it up, you can see, even when I turn it to the side where you can't see the little circle of light, it actually does quite well. So let me turn the lights back on before I blind myself completely. All right. So as you can see, this little headlamp does surprisingly well for the cost. Oh, completely blinded from the little spot. I'm seeing spots. So all in all, I would have to say I'm going to keep this headlamp. I'm not going to return it because even though it comes with some strange cartoon character and I'm supposed to be the serious polar explorer and mountain climber and all that stuff, you still got to have a lot of fun. This will definitely go into my kit of things that I might carry on either a hike or a backpack, knowing that it's inexpensive. If it gets trashed, I'm not going to go crying because it's not some $100 headlamp. It is waterproof IP67, so it can handle basic rain, light dunking and whatnot. And it's incredibly light. I really like it. I mean, there are quite a few other headlamps that are super light, but they're substantially more expensive. So all in all, this headlamp actually performs very well considering its price and its weight and just the way the packaging looks. I mean, does this look like something somebody hardcore serious would use? Maybe not. And initially I was very reluctant to do this review. Full disclosure, I did receive the headlamp as a review item to, hey, would you please review this item? I receive a lot of products and I won't do reviews on them because I'm not even gonna review this. But this guy, I waited for a long time. I debated because it didn't look very serious. But actually after I've used it a bunch and actually jogging around at night in the neighborhood, I have to say thumbs up. So yeah, I have not received financial compensation whatsoever. I was supposed, other than receiving a free headlamp to do a review. So that's all I get out of this. So I don't get coin or money or Bitcoin or whatever. But I've got a headlamp and now I'm definitely going to keep it. And I'm actually taking it on a trip with me that I'm leaving for tomorrow. It's not going to be my only headlamp, but it is definitely going to be in my kit that I'm going to take with me whenever I just do basic travel, because you never know when you're going to need a headlamp. My name is Linsdau. I am a polar explorer and headlamp lover. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. Have a good time and enjoy your headlamps.